You are listening to Launchpad, a podcast produced by the Office of University Strategic Communications at the University of Texas at San Antonio. It is the beginning of a new era. Two top-tier research universities are joining forces as one, bringing the power of higher education and healthcare into one institution. A new university that will serve as a model of both access and excellence across South Texas and beyond. In this podcast, we speak with the leaders who will be guiding the third largest research university in Texas into this exciting future. Get informed and get inspired about San Antonio's new world-class university. Hello and welcome to the third episode of Launchpad. I'm your host, John Elizondo. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you listen to the first two episodes of this podcast, featuring UT San Antonio President Taylor Amy and Senior Executive Vice President for Health Affairs and Health System, Dr. Francisco Cigarroa. Our guest today brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to UT San Antonio, serving more than 16 years at UT Health San Antonio as a Senior Vice President for Research. She's also the Director of the Be Well Institute and a Professor of Psychiatry. Prior to these roles, she was a faculty member at Harvard Medical School. Our guest today is Senior Executive Vice President for Research and Innovation at UT San Antonio, Dr. Jennifer Potter. Dr. Potter, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hope that introduction did you justice for everything that you've done before, but I want you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit more about yourself, things beyond what you've done in your career.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I've been in San Antonio for a number of years now. I moved down from Boston. I have been very fortunate to come into the San Antonio community at a very early stage in my career. And so in addition to raising my children here, I've had a chance to grow professionally in ways that I could never have anticipated having the opportunity to do.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role right now at UT San Antonio?
Sure. So it's a unique role. One of the things that's most exciting about it is that from a research and innovation perspective, we have made the decision that we are our one mission to grow our research and discovery enterprise, and that I have the good fortune to lead that across the two legacy institutions. So as a result, one of the opportunities we have is to really catalyze collaboration across the two campuses. That, I think, is the exciting opportunity. The challenge of that is making sure that these two universities, as we've come together at UT San Antonio, can continue to support the robust enterprise of research and discovery across both campuses.
I want to simplify a few things for our listeners. When we talk about research, it's a very broad subject. Can you explain, just at least from your experience, how impactful it is to everyday life that people maybe are not aware of the work that's going on at this institution?
That is one of my favorite questions. And feel free to stop me and interrupt in any ways that I might not be fully covering this, or if you want to take it somewhere. It is impossible for us to live our lives in this world without in some way being impacted by discovery and innovation that come from a university. And so whether you are a member of the community listening to this, if you are a student, faculty member, one of our great and amazing staff persons anywhere, each of you, either on this campus or in your home life, are impacted by research. The neat thing about that is that it can occur with something as simple as driving to work. You see a speed limit. That speed limit was born out of data that told us that over a certain speed limit, we were more likely to get in a car accident. So the use of data to inform public policy was informed by individuals and their teams that establish that. That's a public health activity and a policy activity. And I think hopefully we can already start to see the schools and colleges. We have a school of medicine that is dealing with the experience of a motor vehicle accident where an individual is brought into the ER and trauma surgeons are involved. We see a college that is understanding and taking data and making sense of it and understanding how we can rationally approach public policy that's informed by an evidence base. We see epidemiologists at a school of public health that are working to collect that data and help to interpret it and make conclusions that are robust and rigorous and that we have a high degree of confidence. So there's example after example after example of situations where what we do impact our lives. That can include other things like if you go to the physician and you need an antibiotic because you have a bacterial infection. We know as a result of research what works and what doesn't. And in fact, the product that is used, often those products in partnership with the private sector are brought to market as a result of academic research that allows us to see our kiddos feeling better. And getting back to school faster, that allow mom and dad to continue to have a thriving work life. So it's often very simple to think about research as something that sounds very academic. It's this thing that goes on and it's all in labs. Labs aren't just benches that go on with Petri dishes and beakers. Research takes place out in the world, out in our community, and that's another important piece of it. So there's just so many ways that we could give examples of that talk about it. The neat thing about the merger is that now, rather than having these two distinct entities, we have a community of scientists and innovators and students and physicians that are all able to work with fewer barriers. And we know that when barriers are reduced, we can make innovation happen faster. When we innovate, it creates opportunities to impact our community, our South Texas region and beyond in ways that are almost unimaginable, even to someone who sees as much of the great research that we do on our campus.
That's very well put. And when you think about it, it's not just there's a lot of research, but it's the time that takes it, the money that takes it, the effort, the amount of people. I mean, I think sometimes people don't understand that some of these projects, there's a whole army of people behind it when it comes to faculty, when it comes to students getting involved, using different kind of mindsets to think of innovative ways to solve a problem.
Absolutely. And that's why the merger is such an exciting opportunity. I've had the good fortune in my work at UT Health San Antonio, where I used to work, to have students from UTSA. So for students listening, it's just a great opportunity to expand the window of opportunities you have. When you come to a university like UT San Antonio, an R1, the very highest level of research status in the United States, you are opening doors to a broad array of opportunities by breaking down the silos between these two important University of Texas system universities, making them one. That expands the opportunities that you can have. So, for example, the AI college, that college now has access to data that is involved in our health mission. That in turn just might increase the likelihood that we can save a life somewhere down the line. And it starts with our students and the labs that they work in and the questions they ask in their partnership with their professors in ways that will serve them well, both in their education, but also very often the glimmer of a great idea is when a student or another trainee is sitting in the room with a scientist, a professor, and they start to, as President Amy says, noodle on an idea. And that's what's so exciting about this merger for us.
You touched on it already, but interdisciplinary research, how do you envision that evolving over time? Especially as you mentioned, there's places like engineering, liberal arts, and now you're involving medicine and health as well. From what I've heard from other people here, they talk about crazier ideas when it comes to music being involved, things that you just don't normally think about being associated with medicine and health, maybe to a certain extent. But now this academic side, this health side is now joining one where there is endless possibilities.
So I love that question. And I love the example of it being wild that music can be therapeutic. I didn't mention at the beginning, but I'm trained as a clinical psychologist. That's how I received my doctorate, was understanding human behavior. And it's important to start by remembering that while this merger sounds a lot like it's focused on health, This university is creating opportunities across all of our activities. As I mentioned before, research doesn't always occur in a lab. There is discovery activity that goes on in music rooms, on stage in the theater, in a film studio. We're working right now on a podcast. All of those things are brought to bear on what UT San Antonio is. So we will continue to do that work. This is whether it's at the College of Engineering and its hypersonics, quantum hardware, quantum physics, all of those things will continue to grow. Maybe there will be opportunities for that to be connected to a health mission. The second piece of this is that there are these great opportunities to go, how can a college of liberal and fine arts and a music department make a connection with the health mission? And you're right, on the face of it, that may not be intuitive. Well, it turns out that music is inherently therapeutic. There are qualities about music that when it's heard by a human, it can change brain function. So when you do that, it creates the opportunity to say, wow, I wonder if using music as an intervention, for example, if we exposed individuals with Alzheimer's disease or even caregivers who are managing someone that they love and they're taking care of them in the throes of cancer, how can we actually increase and improve the quality of life with music? And we can go example after example after example of that. You mentioned the College of Engineering. One of the great programs that we have had for quite some time is biomedical engineering, which is a natural collision between engineering, fundamental engineering, and health research and health mission. That's another place where we might be able to develop therapeutics by increasing the likelihood that the faculty will collaborate. And so that's what we're working on right now.
You were talking about areas of growth. Is there one area that you're most excited to see grow?
There's several. So I come from a public health background. I have a Master of Public Health degree. And so I'm slightly biased that I like to look at these big public health opportunities. As a clinical psychologist, it's wonderful to understand social sciences and see how we can make system changes at the individual level. But imagine if we can make changes at the structural level that improve the quality of lives for even more people. So the idea of understanding how individual behavior and health is navigated within a broader system is really fascinating. We have engineering practices here. We have a School of Public Health. We have the Health Community and Policy colleges and the School of Medicine. So those are a couple where I'm really interested. The greatest impact we can make is, I think, where we look at these diseases in our health mission and understand how all of those colleges can be brought to bear on Alzheimer's disease, how they can be brought to bear on cancer, and all of those. So those are in my arena. That's kind of the area where I've spent a lot of my life. What also excites me is the opportunities to take a look at cybersecurity on our campus and how that can impact alone and on its own.
It's not every day a merger like this happens. What work has gone into preparing for this integration and ensure its success?
A lot of work has gone into this. When we first got the news that this was happening, one of the great things was to see President Amy and jump into action. And we were quickly gathering teams around all of the different areas. It's interesting, research has always been a priority for this, but for both universities. And so UT San Antonio, that mission continues to be a priority. One of the things I think that's interesting, and I'm glad you asked the question, is that it's often invisible how much work goes into this. So to get us to the place where we could have a unified research office working to support both universities, and this is the stuff that doesn't sometimes get all the attention. This is how does somebody submit their grant? How do we support the faculty and the staff that work so hard to do research? And remember, a lot of research involves extramural funding. we are charged, and faculty have a responsibility to seek out additional funds to support their activities. And there's a tremendous amount of work that goes on with that. And so we have had a team of at least 100 working on this over the course of the past 12 months. That's people in an office called the Sponsored Programs Office who were making sure that grants are going to continue to go in. It's the policy folks that are looking at how our policies are different and how we can collaborate. It's HR, making sure that people excellence at UT San Antonio is really focusing on the staff and the faculty and all those jobs that make this go on. And so I have to say it's been a tremendous honor to look across the many functional teams and appreciate how hard they have worked on making sure that this could happen. We are in complex financial times right now, as universities often are. We're always focused on making sure that we are fiscally responsible. And so we have to make sure that those folks are acknowledged too in this. That's what makes it possible for all of our missions to be accomplished.
You talked about eliminating barriers. Can you explain how this could potentially elevate some of the research that's already in process?
One of the things that's kind of funny about academic institutions is sometimes, even though we can be within miles of each other, we may not always have those organic, natural opportunities to collaborate. What we hope, and it's one of the reasons why the research mission is integrated across the entire university, is that we can hit the easy button on collaboration. And what I mean by that is that we reduce the silos that we have and we go from, gosh, it would be a good idea if we collaborated, to creating structures and systems and incentives that take us from, gosh, it would be a good idea, to we are doing this. So that, for example, is placing engineers on the Health Science Center campus, imagining putting some of our faculty over at the Health Science Center with our faculty at the main campus or the downtown campus, so that we have these affinities across. Imagine if our business school and our faculty and students that were learners there were able to use the Health Science Center and our clinical practice as a learning opportunity. And in addition, bring the innovations that that business college has to bear on how we practice medicine. Some of this may make people nervous, but nervousness is a little bit good, because what that does is it challenges us to create and to innovate and to continue to benefit from each other. So reducing those barriers as one university is a major piece of what we're trying to do.
I think that's the one thing that I've been the most excited about this integration, is thinking about if I'm a student at UT San Antonio when I previously came to UTSA, and now this new door opens where I came into college thinking one thing, and now there are more possibilities than I could ever imagine, and what this could impact them going forward.
Yeah, we've mentioned students a fair amount because it's the primary focus of our mission, and I completely agree. So you mentioned at the beginning, I have an institute. It's called the Be Well Institute, and we do a lot of community-facing activities, outreach activities, education around addiction, because it's an addiction institute, and we do clinical research. We also do outreach and public health work. Imagine if our workforce and our mission could be expanded by having talent like you in the room that does podcasts and communications experts. Imagine if our communications colleagues, we were able to seek their advice and solicit that advice, not only for the work, but also for the students in the academic mission, and also the professional skills that we don't have in the same way at the Health Science Center campus. And so when we start to do this, I mean, we could go down a real rabbit hole thinking of all the interconnectivities. And what's so exciting about that to me is that the students are the ones that will benefit in addition to the work. One of our missions, you mentioned this is the Launchpad series, is that your ambition has a place and it's here. So I hope that there are broad ambitions. I'm very ambitious. That's one of the reasons why I've been successful. And ambition does have a place in the world. And I want people to be proud, to be ambitious, to have goals, and to have an environment that's going to allow them to fully realize their ambition and make impact in the world. Because it's also important that that ambition has the values underlying it, that it looks to our community for what the needs are in the community, that we look towards how can I apply the skills I have to making the world better.
Well, obviously, the San Antonio and South Texas community is going to benefit greatly from this integration. What role do you see the university's research enterprise playing in when it comes to addressing public health across South Texas?
We are anchored in community. One of the things that has made this merger so exciting is that we have a chance for two universities who are deeply committed to the health and well-being. And it's in our mission statement. We make lives better. We are deeply committed to that. We do that by education as a vehicle for upward mobility in the world. We do that through research that focuses on areas and priorities that directly impact South Texas and our region. When we go out in research and think about all the different things that we might be able to impact, sure, we look globally, but we also test and look for opportunities that are directly impacting lives here. Poverty is an example of one of the greatest scourges we have, and we want to elevate people up out of poverty. So if we were to ignore these types of questions, we'd really miss the mark. Which cancers are most common here? If we're going to research cancer, why don't we look at the ones that are impacting our community here in South Texas? And why is it that some individuals may get one cancer versus another, so that we can understand how to treat that in a way that is effective for those individuals?
I want to look into the future now and think about 5-10 years down the road. Feel like 5-10 years down the road, you blink and it's here already, especially when there's so much on your plate. But how do you hope this institution positions itself in the next decade?
It's a great question. You're right. It's a blink of an eye, 5 years and then 10 years. We are already planning for 10 years in the future. When you have visionary leadership like we have, that is looking at 10 years and beyond. So we focus on the here and now and what our mission is every day. We also look towards those goals. And again, I mentioned I was a psychologist. One of the things we know is extremely important to change and advancement is setting goals. So I encourage everyone to set goals in their lives. It's extremely beneficial. So as an institution, we want to set goals about our impact. We describe ourselves as espousing public impact research. So from the research and discovery mission, what I see 10 years from now is a university that's continued to grow the impact of its research. We can measure that by the journals that we publish in. We can measure it by the quality of lives in our region that are improved. We can measure it by the number of faculty we have that are in or have won awards and prestigious societies. We can measure it by a lot of different things, the number of students that we're graduating. I think what's most important to me is to go back to impact. And we are on a mission to impact the quality of life in our region, to address the science questions that are most impactful to us on a national and global scale. And you can hear it in the name, UT San Antonio. Wherever our alumni go and wherever our faculty go, we want to be known as a place where people can come to work or to get an education that is impactful, that has a degree of excellence, and also ensures that we have access. And that's that balance between excellence and access to a great education. And we would argue both of those things go hand in hand. And that's what we're aiming for.
Dr. Potter, thank you so much for joining us today. This was fantastic and just amazing to hear all the great things that we're going to be able to do at this new institution and how it's going to impact not just the students, not just the faculty, but all of San Antonio, all of South Texas. Thank you again for joining us, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to serve in this role. I will just give a shout out to the team in research. They are an amazing group of staff that are working very hard to support the faculty and the staff that conduct our research mission, and thank them all.
Once again, we want to thank Dr. Jennifer Potter for visiting with us to talk about the exciting opportunities this integration will bring to UT San Antonio's research enterprise. Curious how this integration will impact academics? Be sure to join us for our next episode when we explore the potential learning opportunities and the academic vision of UT San Antonio. This episode of Launchpad is brought to you by the Office of University Strategic Communications at the University of Texas at San Antonio. This podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Stay up to date with the latest news about UT San Antonio by visiting UT San Antonio today.